A benign brain tumor sounds like the good news you were praying for. It's also an automatic 60% rating from the VA, benign, harmless sounding, and still 60% the day it's confirmed, even with 0 symptoms. That isn't a typo and it isn't a mistake. And there's a version of this that pays the full 100% with a clock ticking underneath it that almost nobody sees coming. Carry that number with you because it decides when you should file.
Hey, I'm Liam, and my read is most folks hear the word benign and assume the claim is dead on arrival. Harmless growth, no compensation, move along, am I close?
You're close, Liam, and you're exactly wrong in the way the VA counts on. Last time we chased a number hiding in your legs. Today it's one sitting in your head, and nobody is born knowing this one. So here's the kitchen table version.
This is Kim. Page by page, the schedule doesn't rate how dangerous the tumor is. It rates where it sits.
Right, a lump the size of a grape, pressing on the wrong wiring in the most protected real estate in your whole body. Chapter and verse, the rule says that alone earns a rating, cancer or not.
So no symptoms yet, still a rating. And if you want to double check every number we drop today, our team keeps the free tools and the current rate charts over at the VA site, ProfessorErica.com. Now, one thing we hear constantly.
And the chat just pushed up the exact one I keep seeing, so I'll take it. Does a benign brain tumor even count for VA disability if it isn't cancer? Short answer, yes, and the schedule is blunt about it.
Yes, it counts, and it counts big. But there's one line missing from a lot of these files that lets the VA quietly turn that yes into
a missing nexus line. That's the gap that flips a yes into a no, chapter and verse, and we'll fix it before the end. First, the good part, because the number is real and it's written down.
So put a face on it, because I learned these things as a story. Picture Curtis, 52, an Army motor pool mechanic for 20 years. Headaches he blamed on the job for a decade. A scan finally names it a meningioma, benign. Benign is the word everybody exhales at. And here's the part that gets Curtis and gets a lot of you. He almost didn't file because he figured harmless meant worthless.
Wait, Liam, so he sat on a 60% rating because a doctor said good news?
He nearly did, and it's not my opinion, it's right there in the schedule. Code 8003, benign, minimum 60. Everything hinges on what's actually in the file the day the ratter opens it, not on how scary the word sounds.
Right, so let me show you what that 60 actually lands in his account, because the way the VA builds it, forget the word harmless, start with the number. Let me walk the receipt.
$14.35 a month for the veteran alone. That's the floor, page 41 of the rate table if anyone wants to check.
Then dependents ride on top. A spouse adds $131. One kid under 18, another 97. Fair point, and it stacks quietly.
So for Curtis with a spouse and one child, $1,663 a month, tax-free, federal and state, on a tumor that never grew back.
One catch, and it's the whole next hour. If the tumor's gone and left nothing behind, the rating can drop later. Hold that thought.
Real quick, because this next part matters to you. If any of this is helping, tap that like button, then hit subscribe and ring the bell so the next one finds you. Both are free and take about a second, but they tell the algorithm to show this to one more person who needs it. $800 a month. That's roughly what's on the table in the choice we owe you next, and picking wrong can cost you all of it. Here's where two smart people who both want you paid still split. Liam would file for every leftover the tumor caused. Jasmine says sometimes the smartest move is to touch nothing.
My read is simple. That benign tumor doesn't just sit there. It leaves headaches, seizures, vision trouble, and each of those has its own diagnostic code. File them, and they combine on top of the 60. Leaving them unclaimed is leaving money on the table.
Fair point, and here's my worry. That 60% under Code 8003 is tied to the tumor being present. Remove it clean, no residuals, and the schedule says rate the residuals minimum 10, so a veteran with nothing left who goes poking for more can invite an exam that drops 60 to 10.
Liam, attack that head on. Jasmine's strongest claim is that filing can reopen the door and cost the floor. Answer that one directly.
It can if you're empty-handed. But most of the veterans I picture aren't. They've got the migraines, the memory gaps, the balance that never came back. Those are real, rateable, and they don't depend on the tumor still being in there.
And I'd grant that instantly. If the leftovers are genuine, claim everyone. But that 10% floor, where does that even?
Source it right now, on the spot. Where's the 10?
Chapter and verse, 38 CFR 424A Code 8003. The line reads, benign minimum 60, then rate residuals minimum 10. Both numbers, same sentence.
So the fork isn't file versus don't. It's do you actually have leftovers or
is the tumor the only thing holding your 60 up?
Let me land that for everybody. If you have real residuals, claim them. They combine up and they can't be taken by a clean scan. If you have none, that benign 60 is a glass floor and a fresh exam can crack it. Both sides, one rule, straight from 8003. So hold that glass floor idea because there's one move that can shatter it by accident, and we'll get to exactly what it is before this video ends.
one rule straight from 8003. Now flip that coin, because the other side of the schedule is where the 100% Cynthia dangled at the very top finally shows up.
And it's a different code entirely. Malignant brain tumor, code 8002. 100%. Full rating, no argument.
Think of it like a lease with a review date stamped on it. 100% runs, then the landlord comes to look. This is the clock from the very top, and it's the part people get blindsided by.
The rule says the 100% continues for 2 years after treatment stops. 2 years, then a mandatory exam. About 40% floor after that, 30. Exactly. Minimum 30. Once they rate you on what's left.
So somebody asks me the obvious thing every time, and it's the right question. If it's 100% for 2 years, what happens in year 3?
Year 3, they re-rate you on residuals and it can fall to 30, which is the whole reason benign and malignant feel backwards to people. The benign 60 has no clock. The malignant 100 does.
That's the lease coming due. Right, that's the review the landlord always shows up for.
And this is true for almost everyone on the malignant path. Almost. There's one group the 2-year clock actually protects instead of hurts, and we're getting to them.
Everything so far protects your rating. This next part is where people lose points they earned. The leftovers.
The tumor is one line on your rating, but the damage it leaves behind is a whole list, and the VA rates that list separately. Migraines carry their own code. So do seizures, vision loss, hearing loss, hormone problems when it sits near the pituitary.
Each one its own code, its own rating.
And here's the trap almost everyone walks into. Watch this with me, Liam, because the math is not what your gut says. See what happens when we combine a 60 with a 30 and
Easy, 60 and 30, that's 90. Am I close?
70, not 90, and that gap is exactly where people lose money they earned.
The VA combines, it doesn't add. Take 60, and the 30 only works on the 40% of you that's left. 60 plus 12 is 72, and that rounds to 70. 70. Under 38 CFR 425.
70, not 90, but watch the direction. 70 still beats the 60 floor, and if the vision loss stacks in 2, you climb again. That glass floor we talked about, it's a floor you can build on top of.
Prove the leftovers. Prove them, and each one you document lifts the total.
the floor you can build on. But none of it starts until the VA agrees the tumor is connected to your service, and that is where the whole thing is won or lost.
And this is the piece I want to be careful with, because the internet gets it wrong constantly. People hear PACT Act and assume every brain tumor is now presumptive, an automatic connection. It isn't. The presumptive list covers brain cancer and glioblastoma, the malignant ones. A benign tumor, a meningioma, a benign pituitary growth is not on that list, which means you cannot lean on a presumption. You have to actually connect it.
So, how do you connect a benign one? File the 526 and hope, or
Onset in service or a nexus, a doctor's line tying it to your service.
Kim just named it. That nexus line is exactly the gap I flagged at the very top, the one that turns a yes into a no. This is worth a real expert, so I'm getting someone on the line who's read 1,000 of these decisions and knows the benign trap cold.
Hold on, before we go further, the question isn't whether a benign tumor qualifies. It does, 60 minimum, that part settled. The real question is whether it's service-connected, two completely different fights, and people lose the second one because they assume the first one carries.
Wait, burn pits, radar, does that auto cover a benign one?
No, and that trips up 9 out of 10 of these. The presumptive cancer list is malignant. For a benign tumor, you need a medical opinion linking it to that exposure or to something documented in service. It depends on exactly one thing, whether a doctor will put that connection in.
So the move you two held back, what actually costs the 60?
Filing for an increase when the tumor's already out and there's nothing left to rate. No one can judge a specific claim without the file in front of them, but I see the same shape over and over. A stable veteran pokes for more, triggers an exam, and the rater applies the rule to the letter. Rate residuals, minimum 10, 60 drops to 10. That's the trap in one sentence.
hang on, so is the answer just never reopen it?
Not never, it's this. If you've got real residuals, the headaches, the seizures, the vision, claim every one, they combine on top and they hold. If you've got nothing left, let the 60 sit. So here's what I tell any of you tonight. You're not chasing a maybe, it's written in the schedule. One thing to do, pull the neurology records that show onset before you file and let a free accredited VSO line up the residuals. That's the whole game.
That's the button. Thank you for calling in. Everybody, that's your map, and it holds up whether your tumor was benign or not. So the whole video fits on one line. A benign brain tumor isn't a 0, it's a glass floor at 60, and everything the tumor left behind stacks on top of it.
Next time we chase the one benefit that pays your family after all of this, the survivor number nobody explains until it's too late.
And tonight, if you took nothing else, take this. Pull the record that shows when the headache started before you file a thing.
If this cleared up even one number for you, hit like and subscribe because we keep these rate charts current every single year so you never file on a stale figure. And here's the one I can't settle for you. Would you file for every residual or leave your 60 alone and never poke it? Tell us where you land in the comments.
If one section applies to you, that section is the homework.
That's it from me. Take care of that record, get your number, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Cynthia. Thanks for watching and signing off.